Kia Bia, where you at? Where you at? Kia Bia,
That's me.
Kia Bia,
That's me.
Kia Bia.
Yeah, that's me. What's up, Kia Bia Gang, and welcome to Zakia Chanel Podcast. This isn't just a regular podcast. It's a place where we can let down our guards and be our authentic selves. So let's talk about it. The real, the tough, and the funny conversations. At the end of each episode, I want you to walk away feeling better than you did at the start. All right, enough of me talking. Breathe in, breathe out. Now let's get into the episode. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Zakia Chanel Podcast. I'm your favorite podcaster from the D, Kia Bia, in the building. Hey, and as you can see, I have a special guest with me, my little sister, my best friend, Hannah. Woo! Yes, I'm so excited, y'all. Like, y'all don't understand. I've been waiting for this episode. So, before we get started, as always, you know, I have some little wine with us today. So we're going to cheers to this episode. That'll be a good episode.
Well, I like that.
Oh, that's good.
I like that.
It's actually
I'm gonna
good.
take a picture when we done.
Okay, because I like this good. That's good. So, before we get into the episode, we're going to do our praise break.
Okay.
And so, as I said before, praise break is just something that's been going good in your life that you just been excited for or happy that's been going on.
Yes. Personally, I'm just excited for where God has brought me from.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like right now is a good time to kind of share my testimony and share what I've been through because I'm on the other side of it. It's been a blessing, like with work, going back to school, like putting me back on the right track because I felt like before I wasn't. So that's my praise break.
Oh, I love that.
I
I love
love
it
today.
Okay, let's see. I think mine would be like my friends.
Okay.
I'm just super excited or just happy for my friend group, like my support system.
Seriously,
I think,
you're a good one.
Yeah, for a while, like I think I never realized it.
Okay.
But recently, like in the past 2 weeks, I've really like sat back and noticed, like, girl, you blessed with some good
Seriously,
friends
though,
around you.
Big blessed.
So,
Big blessed.
yeah,
that's good.
that's my favorite.
I like that.
Yes.
I like that, sis.
Okay, so something new that's been doing for like season 3, is called like the meme for the week. So like some meme that I seen on Instagram or Facebook or something that kind of like stood out to me. Now it may resonate with the episode or it may just be random.
Okay.
So I can show you because I do have a screenshot of it.
Please
do. Extra prepared.
The memes lately are like getting funnier.
Yes.
Like the humor, we make jokes about the stupidest stuff, but it'd be so funny.
And I mean, like, why did y'all think about this? Like, what?
Genuinely. Who had the time? Who had the time?
Okay, so, well, her name is now Shani Henderson, but Shani O'Neal, she got a new book that just came out.
Okay.
So she was doing like a post about it, and she did some memes. So the first one that she did was actions always prove why words mean nothing. So that's how this one looks. Okay. Then the next one was sometimes you just gotta make this face and move on with life.
Oh,
like what really is going on?
Really?
And then the last one was anytime you are about to have a fresh start, there is always a storm. A storm always announces you have outgrown where you are.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Sit
that
on
hit.
it.
That.
Sit on it.
Yeah.
That's something deep.
That did.
Was
It
like,
was.
Oh.
I like that.
Okay. Well then, let me know.
Right. Seriously. Come at me. I guess.
Literally.
Okay.
So I feel like that kind of connects to what I want to talk about a little bit, like isolation and isolation in the point of like it being an isolation season for you or your journey of where you're at, and how
how did you deal with it? Like, if you have dealt with it, like, in your journey with growing your relationship with God, like, was it a time where you were isolated, and how did you overcome it, or how are you, like, getting through it now if it's a current season? And so, yeah, I thought about that, and it really just said something, because I feel like a lot of people go through this season, but we don't talk about it because it's a strange and uncomfortable topic to talk about at times, because you don't want to make people feel like they're not important in your life in a way. So my first question would be just like, what do isolation like mean to you? Like, when I bring it up, like, what comes to mind with it?
I feel like the first thing that comes to mind is peace. Which some people would think your isolation, like, it's okay, don't come for me, like, I'm trying to get myself together. But to me, that's the most peaceful time that you can get yourself together.
That's true.
You don't have the outside noise coming in. You don't have the distractions in that time period because you're at peace.
Yeah.
So whether it is chaos around you, you yourself are at peace.
That's true.
That's how my isolation period was. Let me say, like, it was peaceful. It was distant from folks, but it was a good distance, so I could have the peace.
And I think that's kind of how I see it. Like, more of a mindset thing. Isolation is more of like your mindset and where God is trying to like take you, or the message that He's going to give you.
Because it's always one.
It's always something in it. And so I just feel like, I think that when we think of it, it automatically we think of the physical of like not being around people, but really like it's a mindset thing, and it's more of like isolation of your mind and getting you away from like the noise that may surround you, whether that is technically people around you or just like your environment.
Because stuff be happening, and it could affect you and you don't even know that it is, just because you're seeing it or you're around it, like you said.
That's so true. So like, okay, so how did your isolation season start, or like how did you notice like, like I'm in my isolation season, like, this is real, this is a real thing?
I think mine started with the realization that I wanted it, which is so weird, but like I wanted to be by myself. It was almost like God telling me, girl, you're going to be by yourself, get used to it. Genuinely. That's how my isolation period started. It wasn't me deep in the dumps and deep in my emotions, and even depression, because I had a phase of that in this period too. It was me realizing I need to take the step back. I need to be by myself, and I did. It started rough. Like I said, the depression kicked in, because being by yourself sometimes can bring you peace, like we mentioned before, but it could also put you in your mindset of just like, I'm thinking by myself and I don't have anybody to like jump the ideas and the conversation off with. So it's almost like you be having conversations with yourself, and I know that sounds crazy, but you're starting to have the conversations with yourself, and it's like you and God are at this tug of war. Genuinely, that's how it started. I know I needed it, but it was a tug of war to realize that I really, really, really needed it. And that's how it started. It was sad at the beginning, because I'm like, dang, do I really have to stop talking to people that I used to talk to on an everyday basis or see every weekend? Yeah, you're going to have to do that.
See, I think that's like, I feel like that's how I was a little bit, but I didn't know like I was in an isolation season. I was like unexpectedly like in it, and like me like, this is it. So I think like it started with it being where, not that people were disappearing, but just like the way I spoke to them was starting to change, or the amount of times that I was talking to them had started to change. And then what hit me was like realizing that I was in isolation was I was okay. I knew like it's not that I'm cutting you off because of bad things. It was more of like, okay, God, like, you know that I can get easily distracted with so many other things that's going on. So like he had to remove like everything, even for me, like being a part of things. Like I had to really just be by myself, and I know that that's usually uncomfortable for me. So I think like he did it so secretly. So like I would not be like,
and then you realize, okay, that's interesting. I feel like there's always the push away, because sometimes it is intentional conversations you have to have with those people you talk to every day, you hang with every week, like, and say, I'm about to go through this, I love you, but I'm going to be kind of MIA for a minute. That's how I like to think of it. And that's what I did. So yours was you bringing, like, God pushing you into it. Mine was like, God told me I needed it. And it was a battle at first, because I'm like, why? But then I realized the why was so that I could get here. The why was me having to have those hard conversations with people at the beginning. It wasn't a push away. It was just a pause. That's how I felt. And that's how I took it. But to your point, sometimes when you do like push the people away or let them know you're in an isolation period, they be mad at you. Like, what are you mad for? I'm trying to work on me. I'm trying to be in this so I can come out stronger, even like a better friend to you. But you'll have that. You will have that sometimes. But it's good that God pushed you.
And then I think like, well, it's a question too. But like, was it like difficult at any stage? Because I think like once I realized that I was in it, then it became very difficult, because I felt like I had to start explaining like my reasoning behind everything, even if nobody was really questioning or even cared.
Right. But it's almost like you felt the need to tell them. Because if not, some people our minds work in mysterious ways. I truly do believe that. Some people would think something wrong with you. And honestly, it's nothing wrong. I just need the time to myself. There is a lot of that. There was a lot of that.
That's true.
It was a lot of that. I think it also was a lot of me realizing in the isolation, sometimes it's not a pause. Sometimes it is, you need to stop talking to this person. Or your isolation period would be like, okay, I'm taking time for myself. You let the person know and they feel some type of way. Maybe that was how they felt all along. They were almost needing you to be right there with them. So if you go in isolation, it's like, okay, you really don't mess with me no more. Why are you in this isolation period? So I found myself explaining it to people in my immediate circle more than I would outside of that. But even it had me questioning. I had to have a true conversation with God. Why do I have to explain myself to y'all? But for those people that they care about you and you care about them, sometimes you have to. So they are aware that you're okay, but it's God telling you needed the space. You needed to let out the distractions.
So, okay, so like what, did you see anything as it being like hard through it? Like anything that felt like even a lesson, you know, like was it like difficult to even learn that lesson?
I think the lesson I did learn, yes, I needed the isolation, but the biggest lesson I learned was the conversations you have with God, you're not supposed to have with other people. The conversations that me and him would have during prayer, during meditation, even when I was in my car, y'all, it was like, I sometimes I would tell my mom, because it's my mom, we talk about literally everything, like, that's my Facebook goal. But at other times, I'm like, I can't even tell her, because it's a personal one-to-one conversation with God. That was the hardest thing. It was the lesson that I learned, yes. Sometimes when you say things before they happen, or you say things and you put it out there so much, it'll never happen.
That's true.
I truly do believe in people knowing your business and a little too much of the business. They could put their own prayers and worries or even wishes on the situation. You kind of really need to almost be isolated with some of the words, some of your speech and your conversations with people. It was hard. I love to tell people everything, baby. It was hard. And to not be able to tell my closest friends the things that I'm learning through the isolation period was probably the hardest. Because I had to keep it all inside. Like, there was no one I could talk to but God. Not that,
Like,
he's a great one to
can
talk
somebody
to.
come here
But
real
genuinely,
quick?
sometimes you need to decompress those emotions out to someone and kind of get that feedback from them.
Yeah.
There was none of that.
That's so true. I think like that is a part of my lesson in it, was wanting to share things with people.
Yeah.
But also I think like a lesson for me was understanding what to share. Because like how you said that you like to share things with people, like I'm the opposite.
Okay.
Like I don't share a lot of things with people. Like I keep a lot in the inside. So it was like me understanding that it's okay to share things, but now you have to have discernment of what to share with people. Like, you know, like I never had a big reason of why I never share. I was just, I mean, I guess like I want to be strong, like whatever. Yeah. But in reality, it was just like God was just more of like, it's okay to share certain things with people. Like I brought people here in the world for you to be able to share things with, but now you just got to understand that like you just can't share every little thing with them because like you said, you just don't know what that person may do or say or really want for you, and it could be opposite of what's for you. That's true. But that is very true. Yeah, I think like that was for me. And I think another like difficult lesson was how do I say it? Like understanding my relationships with certain people. Like a lot, like before my isolation, I was questioning or trying to figure out so much of like, what is this relationship? What does this relationship mean? That's so true. And like during my isolation, like God was just showing me like, this is what this type of relationship is, but also that it's okay for that relationship to be that way, and you want more of a certain relationship, but know that I have it a balance for a reason. Like I have a boundary right there for a reason. So like don't try to push that boundary, because if you do like I did, it will show you something that you don't want to see.
Exactly. And to me, I learned that in a very similar way. I feel like I was putting my own purpose on the relationship. That's not me to determine our relationship. I had almost a level of expectation that was so bizarre. And even some of my closest friends to this day, we had some hard conversations because I felt like there should have been an expectation even during my isolation period. You could still check up on me. I'm an answer. It's just not going to be the drawn conversation that we usually have. All right. Before we continue our conversation, make sure to follow me on all of my personal social media accounts to stay updated on what I am doing. You can follow me on Instagram at _KiaZ, _KIAAZ. You can follow me on Facebook at Kia Brewer. You can follow me on Snapchat at FabulousKia_4. Or you can follow me on TikTok as Zakia Brewer. But make sure that you follow our podcast page as well on Instagram as Zakia Chanel Podcast. Okay, so where do we leave off at? Okay. So I got another question. Okay, so you said that you're on the other side of it now. Like you're on the other side, so that means that you're outside of your isolation season. So what has shifted now in this period? Like what has changed or shifted that you have noticed so far? A lot, but I'm not going to give y'all a laundry list. Period. But I think the most that has changed is how I interact with people. Another thing that has changed is I prioritize, and I mean prioritize my time with God more. I didn't do that before my isolation period. It was kind of whenever it would happen, that's when I would have a conversation with God. But now I can wake up and have a conversation with God, read my devotional, pray, meditate, have a minute to myself without my phone, without even answering a text message. I love that. That's like been the greatest change that has come out of it. And lastly, like a bigger one is just my lifestyle. Like before my isolation period, I mentioned the little depression that happened during that. I think I was depressed because of the things I was feeding myself. I was feeding myself negativity. I was feeding myself social media. Like, you really have to watch what you hear, and what you really ingest into your system. Not just food that you eat on a regular basis. Watch that too. But when you're around a certain even group of people and they're doing something that you know isn't right, why are you still hanging out with them? That is ingesting yourself in their lifestyle. You are taking in what they do and thinking, I should do it. Don't do that. Live your life and how you want to make those decisions. And sometimes that is cutting people off. I hate saying that, like cutting people off. But it is. But it really is that. It really is. Like, but it's the realization that you need to. And I feel like I'm growing. I'm not there yet, but growing in my discernment when it comes to people as well. Like, I say I'll be feeling the vibe, or like feeling the vibe of someone, but like genuinely it's feeling the vibe of someone. The first 5 minutes of a conversation, you will know the type of person that you're talking to, in my personal opinion.
You definitely will. Like,
how people are now, you could open your mouth and say gibberish, and I'll know if it's gibberish or if it's real talk. And that's how I decipher if we're going to have a second conversation.
Wow.
Like, God really blessed me with that, because I think he also was showing me, I had people in my life that were there for years, and I was hearing the gibberish. I was hearing the some real, some gibberish.
You was used to it.
I was so used to it. But being able to really decipher it now, I was like, why are we friends?
Right.
Why do we talk? Why am I wasting my time on a conversation with you that I know I don't want to be in or have? Like, coming out on the other side of isolation, it genuinely opened my eyes to so much. And there's still more to grow. Like, genuinely a lot more to grow, but just seeing it now and the difference of where I was before it, it's almost like a 150 to the 180. Genuinely.
I love that. I really love that.
Like, I'm so team isolation is crazy, y'all. It's so crazy how team isolation I am, because of the testimony that I have. It worked out for me.
Yeah.
It really did.
That's so real.
Yeah.
I think I think that I honestly, literally, like in the past month, just finished my isolation.
Okay.
Okay. So I think like I was in mine for a good minute.
Yeah. How long did yours last? Would you say on average?
I would say like 2.5, almost 3 months. Which I don't know if that's long or short. Okay. But I would say 3 months.
I'm gonna give mine a good 2. A good 2.
Yeah.
From when the cutting off like started to probably end of January, middle of January. Yeah. Like 2 months.
Same.
I think that's a good time though. I mean, I don't know. Can you say a good time
I
versus
don't know how long it's supposed to technically be. Like, how long is isolation?
Yeah.
But I feel like that's when I started to come to understanding and like realization and like lessons and being like, oh, okay, like the light is now on. Like,
100%.
I got it now.
Yeah.
So I
think
think
that's the end. That's the ending.
Like, all right. Yeah. Okay, so
that's
about 3 months then.
Okay.
But I think for me, like my biggest lesson was being okay saying like that I'm a Christian. Like I believe in God. Like in
all. Okay, expound. I'm curious.
Because so I've always been like, I'm a believer. I believe in God. Boom, boom, boom. But people will always know no matter where I went. But I think at times I would dim my light of it. Like I would dim myself. Like I would be quiet because either I did not want to be wrong and say the wrong thing because I'm like, God, I ain't trying to leave nobody no straight now.
That's true.
So like I would either just be quiet and not say anything, or not that I was ashamed of him, but I was ashamed in a way to be like, to be different in the room. So I think like those were my biggest 2 things. And so after my isolation and really like just being there with God, like he showed me like you can be confident in saying like that you are a believer and that you believe in God and that you're a Christian, and you don't have to worry about like dimming your light. Like let your light shine. Like
seriously.
I literally put all of these gifts and talents and personality you for a reason.
Yeah.
And
there's a purpose to it.
Yes. If you dim your light in the wrong room, you don't know who's attached to you in that room. And so they could have missed out on something. Just because, you decided I'm going to dim my light
Seriously,
today,
though. Seriously.
So that was my biggest lesson.
That's a good lesson.
Yeah, of just
that's a great lesson to come out with.
Shine, be truly be confident, and so now I think I'm in a learning stage of it. Of learning, you're confident, you got something to say, say it, say it, and if you're wrong, be okay with learning from it. So that was my one thing. And I think my other biggest thing was far as just my relationships. Is the whole just understanding the role that people play. Yep. Just understanding the role and being okay with it. Seriously. Not putting so much stress in it. I want them to be just like this. Or I want them to be just like my other friend.
Right. Yeah. It's the putting them on levels. And it's we have to come to our friends just how we are. They have to do the same. Mm-hmm. You have to meet people. And if you can't meet them, one of my older aunties at church would say to me, some people are here for a season, some people are here for your entire life. It's deciphering which you think. God will show you, don't get me wrong, because he got some ways of showing you. Let me tell you. Yeah. But it's the best thing for you, because even in your season before isolation, there was a group of people, and I guarantee you, after your isolation, it may have slimmed and added to, but that was their season. And to me, during my isolation, another lesson was just realizing I have to be okay with that. Yeah. I don't know why God took them out, but obviously it was a reason.
It was a reason.
Because I'm moving towards something greater that they may not be ready for.
That's what it is.
I feel like with Christians, we're so pull people, and that's the thing that we do. Not even just being a Christian, but being a person who believes in God. We already want to pull you to Christianity, which is a beautiful thing. But I can't pull you to something that you and force it. And that's what I felt like I was almost doing with people in my life, because out of the isolation, like I said, I got closer to God. So I'm thinking that you should get closer to God because I got closer to God.
Exactly.
That's not how that works. Yeah. That's not how that works. Yep. I have to let you be who you are and come to that. God just put me through that and brought me there. So I got to let you go through the same process or similar in your own way.
No, that's real.
But
that's so true.
You really got to let people be.
You do.
You really do.
Because you don't want to force somebody into doing something, and they're doing it now just because you have forced them.
Exactly.
And I think that's where I was prior, was allowing people to kind of force me into it, or going to be this, I literally was just talking to my friends today about it. I wanted to be I'm this perfect Christian. But there's no perfect person. Really not. But you try to do all these things to say I'm doing the right thing. Right. But are you doing the right thing to say you're doing the right thing, or are you doing it to truly feel a difference and a change?
Come on now. Come on now.
So it's I was doing all that stuff before to look like a shining star.
But really?
Really? You was out here looking crazy.
Real crazy.
Why would you do that? Why would you
Real
do that?
crazy.
So now it's just being obedient and just being I'm doing this because I want to do it and because I want to receive the blessing that God has for me.
Amen. Amen.
And if it's not the time for it, it's not the time.
It's not the time.
It's not my time yet for it.
Yeah.
Be higher with that.
Yes. We cute.
Okay. So, we talked about our journey in it, our lessons in it, some difficulty in it. So how far as your feelings and your emotions with it, because our emotions are fickle and stuff, but how did when you think about and you reflect on your emotions of it, how do you feel now afterwards? How did you feel while you were in it, and how do you feel now that you're at that it's over?
In it, 100% roller coaster. I mean, it was almost I'm not gonna say that. Because it was genuinely a roller coaster of emotions that started from, like I said, the very sad state of like, wow, I can't talk to nobody. Or if I do, I have to have that level of discernment and almost check myself before I say it out loud type of thing. Then it got to the stage of being happy that I was in the isolation because I'm in my word, I'm in scripture, I'm going to church, I'm going to Bible study. It was a happy moment. But then when you added the two, so towards the ending, it was actually not the happiest. Because I felt like it was the test portion of it. So I had gone through the isolation. I'm at the near end, and I felt like obstacles were just being thrown my way to see if the isolation meant something. So it was hard. I feel like that's why I'm saying that I'm like just really getting out of it, because there was a time period when I tell you I had lost maybe like 4 people in my life, some closer than others to me, but I felt like, dang, I'm losing people left and right. I have to deal with it by myself and with my family. But back then, Hannah would be telling everybody that I was closer to, like, I'm going through this. Can you be there for me, support me sometimes? Or polar opposite, and I would just say nothing to nobody. It was finding that balance. After the obstacles came, after blessings were in, don't get me wrong, because God blesses me every day just by waking me up. But the blessings were there, but I couldn't see them and see the value in them because of all the obstacles. But if I had just learned in my isolation that I could do that and I could have that discernment, I need to put myself to the test and actually do it. I have to discern the time periods in my life, the conversations that I was starting to have. That's when I was starting to kind of get more around people. If that makes sense. Like talking to people. I mean, I was around people. I put in my house under a rock. Right. But like, I had to slowly get used to going back to normal life. After that, the roller coaster whatever the word I'm trying to look for. Subdued, yes. And then it's still the balancing that I'm struggling with now. It's the balancing of discernment of just events that happen in life, staying on track with the isolation and the things that I learned. So I don't have an emotion to put to it, which I'm sorry. That was your question. But like,
you did answer. Okay, what are you talking about?
But like that ending part, it's like it's a balance. I'm finding the balance. 100% finding the balance. But
still an open book.
It is. No, genuinely. Okay, page. I don't even know. Like we right here. We got all this to go.
Just a little blank now.
No, for real.
Little blank. We waiting for it. We waiting for the words.
Working on it.
I'll crack it up. Okay. Let's see. Words. I mean emotions. Words.
Oh, stop playing.
Okay. Okay, so I would say at the beginning, I was happy or like comfortable. Like I said, that's because I really didn't know what was going on. So I was just like kind of cool. Like I was cool where I was.
Okay.
Then I would say while I was in the isolation, I felt really like alone at times. Because I couldn't really share anything. And then I also felt a little confused because I didn't, like sometimes I didn't understand what was going on, but I had to like write it out and just like.
Journaling was everything.
Yes.
Journaling was everything.
Journaling, for real.
Seriously.
I had a point even in isolation where like I couldn't write. Oh, wow. Like it was hard for me to like really write. And so I'm so used to like just talking to a camera. So I was like, I'm just gonna turn my camera on and just start talking.
Okay.
Like, I'm just gonna start like just saying everything that's going on. Like a diary, and like
wow.
And who knows where it's gonna go at the end, but like it was just like I gotta get it out, and it's hard right now to write it out, so I'm just gonna talk it out.
That's good. So
that's
good you realize you had the outlet to do that. Because some people still bottle it up and not even address it, touch it.
All.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was mine. Then at the end, I would say, I feel, what's the word? Like, not just like excited, but I feel kind of like ready, like I don't know what to expect in the next, but like I'm ready for it now. Like for it. Like before I wasn't like in that. I used to be like nervous every time I felt like things were changing. Where now it's just like I'm okay. Like I'm at peace with it. Like whatever happens, even ups, downs, like I'm at peace because now I know like how to kind of maneuver around it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Look at you, Sissy.
Yeah, look at us. Look at us.
For real. Really.
Yeah. So that's how I felt. But I just felt like, it was important for us to just talk about like our isolation season. And I know like that we kind of had spoke about it a little bit, but we never really went into detail. And then God just like laid it on my heart like to just talk about it because I was like, somebody may be going through this right now. Seriously though. They just don't know what to do or how to get through it or what do this supposed to look like. And I don't think that we talk about it really like, at church like that sometimes.
We really don't.
Or we surface level it a little bit, which is understandable-ish. But like,
to me, more could be said though. Because it's so such a norm almost. Like I see it as a norm because I know people around me who have been through their isolation period. Yeah. But to me, that's where church should come in and talk about it. Yeah. Because then you don't want people to go through isolation period and not turn to God. That's the thing. Like, I feel like the church could help with that gap. Yeah. They can't help you telling you, like, what you should or should not do because it's your isolation period. But at least talking about it. And even when people talk about it, you have a certain, like, familiarity with their journey or experience. It can help you along yours. You don't even know it. But if they never said it, you wouldn't know. Yeah. Or you wouldn't even feel comfort in talking to them about it. Like,
that's so true.
I feel like in the church especially, we could do more when it comes to isolation. And even the aftermath of the isolation. And helping you kind of get back on track with, okay, I had a period to myself. What did I learn? How am I going to then use the tools that I learned to the next steps of my life?
Yeah, that's so true.
Like, church can do that.
Because
it's like, open conversation.
You don't know. Like,
you really don't.
You don't.
But if somebody before me went through something similar, I truly believe all isolations are to each his own type of thing. Like, it's going to be unique. Yeah. But there are a lot of similarities.
It is.
What we just talked about. Like, we saw similarities in our isolation periods. So if I could have heard that from, of course, you're older than me, but heard it from somebody who was in their 40s or 30s and things of that nature at church, that would have been beautiful. Yeah. Because then I don't think I'm going crazy. Or it's me. When it's just the period I'm in. Yeah.
And just knowing that it's okay for you to even be in that stage.
Seriously. It's the confirmation that some people need. I know I needed it at the beginning, so I would tell my mom certain things and not everything. But just having the confirmation that, yeah, Hannah, you're okay. Like, continue on the journey, or there's a purpose to it. Just the words, just somebody saying the words would have been great.
Yeah. But like how you said though, even afterwards, like just understanding like, what am I supposed to do now? Yes. Like, where you don't lose what you just learned. And I like, that's where I'm trying to like search for in a way, is just like finding my community of like, who can I talk to this about? Or like, how can I talk about this? Right. So just trying to find like some community of it.
And a safe space to talk about it. Because some people, and I've learned this unfortunately the hard way, some people even at church are not the best people to tell your stuff to. Like I said at the beginning, the conversations you have with God should be conversations with God. Some conversations are brought to you that may not be conversations with God, that you could have with another human, and they just throw everything away that you said, and they put their own opinion towards it. Yeah, I found that a lot at church. I don't know if it's an older thing with our like seasoned saints, what we call them at our church, like the seasoned saints, but it almost felt judgmental. Yeah, sometimes, for sure. Because I wanted to express like, BTW, when you didn't see me come in here as often or interacting with people, that's what I was going through. Like, have you ever felt that? I would feel so judged. because they would look at me sideways like, what did you need to be by yourself for? Like, are you okay? Or they'll really think something really wrong with you up there. Yeah. But it's like, no. Did you never go through a time period where you needed to just talk to God and God only? Like, that never happened?
Yeah, I think that they're used
weird.
to not saying things, though.
They're used to it. Or bringing up the conversation at all.
Just bring it up. Or because, like, I just think that, not to get sidetracked, but it's just like that sometimes they're so used to having, like, they have to have this certain image when they're at the church, what they have to do, what they have to say, how they have to look.
Agreed.
And, like, we came into church and we're like, it's okay to shed all of that.
Yes.
Like, you really are, that's really what you're supposed to do.
Shed all of
like,
that.
you can shed all of that, and it's okay for, church. Like, church is supposed to be the spot where you're supposed to let everything
and be that vulnerable, right? Around the like-minded people who believe in God, are on a similar journey. Yeah. You would think that's the place to do it.
Yeah. So I just think it's just being able to kind of, like, change the way that they were taught. Yeah. Or, and how, we were kind of taught.
Exactly.
Like, kind of shifted, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So, before we end, we do, like, a run and tell that segment. So, run and tell that is something like a quick gem, a quick snippet that you will tell our listeners and watchers from everything that we talked about, like something that you want them to take away from this. Okay.
Do I have to have just one?
No.
Actually, I'm going to let you go first.
Okay.
I'll let you go first.
Okay. So,
run and tell that, run and tell that, run and tell that, homeboy.
Okay, so my run and tell that would be, to know, like, it's okay to go through an isolation season, and that, like, you're not the first to go through it. When you do feel like that you are in that season, to pray about it, but also, like, if you feel that you're not sure of, like, what steps to take, to kind of, like, research or just look it up, whether it's in the Bible, or just, like, finding things on the internet that can help guide you. However, with that, pray about whatever you've read. After you've read it, like, pray, that God leaves you with what you were supposed to learn from it. And then I think my last thing would be to just know that you're going to learn something from your isolation season, to make sure that you're learning something from it, and to know that, like, share it with others. Like, don't be afraid to go through it alone, or don't be afraid at the end to just keep it to yourself of, like, this beautiful journey that you just went through. Like, allow somebody else to learn from the season that you just went through, and to find like-minded people in a safe space that you can share these things with.
Yeah. I like that. My run and tell it would be the conversations that you have with God. Keep them to yourself when it's interpersonal conversations with God. The things that you pray on and pray for, you don't always have to share them. You share the lesson that you learned from them. You could share the aftermath, but while you're in that season, sometimes some things, like you said, that level of discernment that you need to have or growing, ask God for that level of discernment, BTW, like, genuinely, because he'll give you the clarity more than you ever thought that you needed. But some conversations you keep to yourself so you can learn from it before you go shout it to somebody else and say, I've learned this, this, and this. But have you really? And you still in it? How you done that? How that work? For real, how that work?
Like, did you even put it to the test yet?
Come on now. And that's for real. And I think in the isolation, like I said, my last phase was a test, let me tell y'all. But the test brought me even more learning. Another one that I would say is post-isolation period. Don't let the isolation go to waste. Don't be so quick to turn to your old ways and things that God has brought you out of in the isolation period, because it's almost giving your isolation period, like, devaluing it. It's not giving it the purpose that it had. Do a mental check with yourself. If that's writing it down on paper, if that's having a diary to really reflect on the period, But don't just end it and think it's ended and then go on with life like it never happened. Don't do that.
Yeah.
I would say just like a tip during the isolation is talk to God as much as you can. Like, and it could be the most random times. I mean, very random. Like, when I would be at work sometimes, I'd be in the bathroom extra long. And then people probably thought it was something wrong with my stomach, but it wasn't. Sometimes I would be tested, in my way of saying it, tested at work. Like in things that I would go through. I would want to go complain or put the negative on the situation so bad because I'm thinking it should be. And sometimes you need to stop and pray about it. And God gave me the peace that I needed during it. And now, post-isolation, I know how to address the conversations. I know how to address the things that happen. And last but not least, just pray for clarity. Like, I don't know why, but the word clarity has been in my head for years now. Even when I was in high school, like, genuinely, I was asking God for clarity then on situations. Before even giving me the clarity, he would already work it out. So it's like, yes, you gave me the clarity I needed, but you didn't already took care of it for me. God will do that. And to me, that's the miracle of God knowing something and doing something for you you didn't even know you needed. The clarity that I was given during the time, after the time, clarity I needed in situations, like that's the best gem I could have got from the isolation. So I would pray that people watching and people who will watch and even hear about this podcast will realize God will give you clarity, but he'll give you action to that clarity.
No, that's right.
Like tenfold. Tenfold. Because that's the God that we serve. That's truly the God that we serve. But yeah.
I
That's
love
it. Y'all.
it.
That's it, 'cause I ain't gonna cry. But
Don't be crying.
seriously though, like,
but
y'all just don't know. God is good. God is beyond good. He's great, excellent, magnificent. Like, on top of that, on top of that, on top of that.
Yeah.
That's just how he works. He really works like that.
I love him
He
so
really
much.
does. Period. We like him. We like him.
But yes, y'all, so this concludes our episode. Thank you again for my new listeners and watchers. Make sure that you go share it with everyone around you.
Yes.
We love you. We hope that we were able to help you in any way that we could possibly do for this episode. 100%. And stay tuned for the next one.
Okay.
Thank you, sis, for joining. Anytime. Yeah. All right. So we'll see y'all in the next episode.
Bye.
Hey, don't leave me hanging. Before you leave, make sure that you subscribe to Zakia Chanel Podcast. You can listen to my podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Buzzsprout, Google Podcasts, and SoundCloud. Or you can go over to Zakia Chanel TV on YouTube to listen and watch the podcast. Looking for someone to host your event, or you want to learn how to start your own podcast, or you need organizing tips, I'm your girl. You can contact me via email. You can also reach out to me via email if you need any advice on anything at Zakia Chanel Podcast at gmail.com. Remember, it starts with you. Be blessed and take care of yourself.
Great.
Okay. Do you want to start or you don't remember or what? You don't remember?
I feel like I was wrapping it up anyways.
Okay.
Now we slept at the same time.